You don't think of yourself as a snitch. Not yet. That's the thing nobody tells you. The word doesn't attach the moment you sign the paper. It attaches later. In the shower, at the table in the yard, when someone pulls their tray 6 inches further away than usual, when someone looks at you too long, and you look away first. You replay the moment constantly. The conference room, the burnt coffee smell, the suit across from you who introduced himself with a title instead of a name, the paper sliding across the table like it was nothing, like it was a pizza order. You signed it in 11 seconds. You counted them later in your bunk in the dark, when sleeping had stopped being something that happened to you automatically. 11 seconds. That's how long it takes to become something you can never fully explain to anyone who wasn't in that room. This is your life. Every level of it. From the first signature to the last city you'll ever call home, without being sure it's safe. We're going all the way through. Level 1, the paper, the first signature. You've been inside long enough to understand the math, not the legal math. You understood that the day your attorney laid out the plea options on a laminate table and watched your face while you processed it, the way a doctor watches a patient receive news. You understood it. You just couldn't make the numbers add up to anything livable. The math you understand now is the other kind, the social kind. Who eats where, who owes who, which block is aligned with which guard, and which guard could be approached for something small, and which one will make your life structurally worse if you try. You've learned the geometry of a place by walking it every day until the geometry is in your body. You have years left. Real ones. The kind that don't pass fast. Then someone you trusted gave your name in a deal. Not because they hated you. That would almost be easier. They gave it because their math, pointed in that direction. You understand that too. You just can't stop feeling it. So when a man in a decent suit sits down across from you in a room that smells like burnt coffee and recycled air, you're already tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. You're tired in a way that has been accumulating since the arraignment, since the first time you looked at calendar and did the arithmetic, since the first night you woke up at 2 a.m. knowing exactly where you were. He doesn't introduce himself with his name. He introduces himself with a title, an office, a framework. He has a word for what he's offering, and it's not the word you'd use. He says cooperation agreement. He says substantial assistance. He says the phrase sentencing consideration 3 times, and each time it sounds a little more like something real. He doesn't say snitch. Nobody in that room ever says the word that everyone outside that room will use for the rest of your life. He slides the paper across. You read it twice. You understand maybe 60% of it. The parts you don't understand, you decide, probably don't change the core transaction. You sign it. 11 seconds. The prosecutor's assistant, young, probably his first year, the kind of young where the job still sits on the surface of him, doesn't look at you during the signing. He's looking at his phone, or at a point just past your shoulder, or at the floor, not with hostility, with something closer to particular discomfort of witnessing something that should be private. That detail stays with you longer than anything the prosecutor says, longer than the terms, longer than the timeline they give you for your first debrief. The kid who couldn't look at you while you sign away a version of yourself you'd never get back. They walk you back to your block. Your handler, you don't call him that yet, you don't have that word yet, says, "Go back, act normal." And you walk through the door, and you take your place in the geometry you've learned, and you eat, and you speak when spoken to, and you perform normal with a precision you didn't know you had. And somewhere in the middle of that performance, you realize you don't actually know what normal looks like anymore. You're doing an impression of a version of yourself that signed a paper 11 minutes ago. Nothing has changed. That's what you tell yourself. That's the first lie the system needs you to believe in order to function. Level 2, the work. The meetings happen in a room that isn't on the official visitation schedule. You sign in through a different corridor, a different log. You are not officially there. And the man across from you is not officially there. And the conversation you're about to have does not officially happen. Unofficially, it's the most real thing in your week. He asks questions, small ones at first, patterns, schedules. He's not looking for anything dramatic. He's looking for texture, the texture of how a place runs when no one official is watching. Who moves what, when, Who owes who a favor that hasn't been collected yet? Who's afraid of something? Who's running something? The kind of information that sounds like gossip if you describe it wrong, and sounds like intelligence if you describe it right. You answer carefully at first, then less carefully, because carefulness is exhausting to sustain, and because each answer seems small enough that the aggregate weight of them doesn't fully land until much later. You tell yourself it's nothing serious, just information, observations, things anyone watching closely would eventually see. Then one session, he slides a photograph across the table, face down, then flipped, and you recognize the face immediately. The man who saved your spot at the table your first week in, who told you which guard to avoid and which one to talk to when you needed something small. Your handler says his name, says he's a priority, says getting closer to him would be valuable, says closer like in a neutral logistical term, the way a project manager says deliverable. You say okay. You don't say it dramatically. You just nod, and the conversation moves on. And by the time you walk back through the corridor, the photograph is already somewhere in a folder, and the folder is somewhere in the system, and the system has already decided what happens next. That night at dinner, the man passes you the salt without being asked, the way he always does. You say thank you, the way you always do, and nothing about the exchange is different, except that now you know his name is in a folder, and you put it there. And he laughs at something someone says 2 seats down. And his laugh is a specific kind that happens when something is actually funny instead of when someone is performing amusement. And you think, he has a daughter. He talks about her birthday constantly. You've learned her name. You don't know when you learned it. You just know it now. And you can't unlearn it. And her name sits in you somewhere next to the folder and the photograph and the 11 seconds. This is what cooperation actually looks like. Not dramatic. Not cinematic, just a man passing you the salt, and you saying thank you, and both of you meaning something completely different by the ordinary words. Your handler tells you the arrangement is going well, says you might be done in 6 months if you keep delivering, that you'll be looked after, that the agreement will be honored. 6 months later, he tells you the same thing. You start to understand that 6 months is not a timeline. It's a sentence structure. It's the way the system keeps you in motion, without telling you where you're going. You keep passing information. You keep eating dinner. You keep saying thank you for the salt. You get better at the performance. That's the part that scares you most. Later, not that you did it, but that you got good at it. That the two versions of yourself start to feel less like a split and more like a merger. The person at the table and the person in the back room aren't at war anymore. They're collaborating. You don't know what to do with that, so you don't do anything with it. You file it somewhere and you keep moving. That's what survival requires. Motion, continuous, purposeful, forward motion that doesn't pause long enough for you to feel the weight of what you're carrying. Level 3, the discovery, when someone knows. You wake up one morning, and the air in the room is different. That's the only way to describe it. The air, not the sounds. The sound of the same institutional sounds, the same acoustics, the same morning texture. But something in the social atmosphere of the room has shifted overnight. The way weather shifts, the way a room temperature changes before you can locate the source. Nobody says anything. That's how you know. People who haven't been inside don't understand how communication works in a closed system. The most dangerous messages travel without language. It's a chair pulled 6 inches further away than yesterday. A look that holds 2 seconds longer than friendly, and then breaks cleanly, like something being cut. It's your name not being used when it would normally be used. The small social scaffolding that holds daily life together, quietly removed, so you're standing on air and nobody told you and nobody has to. Someone found out, maybe from inside the administration. A records clerk, a transfer approval that came through too quickly, a visitation pattern that didn't match the official log. Maybe from someone who paid attention to your movements and noticed the corridor you walk sometimes that doesn't lead anywhere you'd have a reason to go. It doesn't matter how. What matters is the word has moved. In the way words move in enclosed spaces, fast, quiet, and total. A man you've never spoken to leaves a folded piece of paper near your bunk. One word. You flush it without letting anyone see. But you already know what it said. You go through your day performing the performance. You eat. You walk the yard. You don't change your route because changing your route signals awareness, and awareness is information. And you've learned enough by now to understand that every observable choice you make is being read by someone. But inside the performance, your body is doing something different. Your body is doing threat assessment continuously, automatically, the way it would if you'd fallen into cold water. You learn to sleep facing the door. You learn to sit with your back to the wall in rooms where there's a wall available. You learn to read a room before entering it. Not loudly, not with scanning eyes, but with a kind of ambient attention that takes in the whole space the way animals take in a field. You contact your handler through the method they gave you for emergencies. He responds quickly, tells you he'll look into it, tells you the arrangement has security protocols, uses words like containment and mitigation and review. He sounds less concerned than you need him to be. Not dismissive, professional, procedural. The tone of a man filing a report about something that is, in his framework, a variable to be managed rather than a crisis to be felt. And you sit with the phone, the unofficial one, the one from the method, and you listen to his professional calm, and you understand something you should have understood at the beginning. You are more valuable to him as an ongoing asset than as a protected individual. Protection was the thing he offered you. What you received was something more conditional. What you received was, as long as you're useful, the math works in your favor. And math, you know by now, is not the same as safety. Math is a calculation. Calculations change when variables change. You hang up. You go back to your bunk. You face the door. The yard is smaller than it was a week ago. Not physically, but the available space. The space where you can move without calculating risk, without mapping who's near and what their body language is doing. That space has shrunk dramatically. You live in it like someone learning to breathe in a smaller room. You adjust. Adjustment is what you've been doing since the beginning. You just didn't know the adjustments would compound like this, that each one would require the next one, that you would adapt so continuously that the original shape of yourself will become impossible to locate. Level 4, the transfer. They move you on a Tuesday. No warning, which you've learned is standard, which is itself information about how the system thinks about your comfort relative to its logistics. A Tuesday, 6 a.m., your things in a bag that takes 4 minutes to pack, because you've always kept it that way. Kept it packable. Kept yourself ready to be somewhere else, because somewhere in your body you knew this was coming even before it arrived. Your handler calls it a security measure. He uses the word protective twice. He says the new facility will be cleaner for the arrangement. He says it like he's recommending a hotel. What it is a redeployment. You know this before you arrive. You know it the way you've learned to know things, through the quality of the information you're given, through what's left out, through the careful architecture of what's not said. They don't ask if you're ready. They don't tell you who's there, what the layout is, what the social structure looks like, who you'll need to read before trusting anyone within 20 feet. They tell you when and where, and then they move you, because the system doesn't actually need your comfort to function. It just needs your cooperation. The new facility smells different, but sounds exactly the same. Same acoustics. Same 2 a.m. quality of silence that isn't silence. Same fluorescent light logic. The body of the place is identical to the body of every place. It's just wearing different wallpaper. You have a new number on your door. The social architecture you built at the last place. The small, fragile infrastructure of daily survival. The table you sat at. The routes that were yours. The 1 or 2 people who told you something true without wanting anything back. All of it is gone. You start over. Read the room. Read the rooms. Map everything again with particular attention you've had to develop. The ambient awareness that never fully switches off even when you're sleeping. On your first day, an old man who has been inside for decades watches you from across the yard. He doesn't approach. He doesn't speak. His expression says, I know what you are, and also, I've seen this before, and also, I'm sorry for you, but not surprised. Within 2 weeks, your handler is sitting across from you in another back room that isn't on any official schedule. He has another photograph, face down, then flipped, a new face, a new name, a new person with a history and a context, and because you've learned by now that they always have this, someone somewhere who loves them. You look at the photograph for a long time, longer than you looked at the first one. Your handler waits. He's patient. He's always patient, which is something you've come to understand as a kind of power. The patience of someone who knows you'll get there because the math leaves you no other direction. You ask what the timeline is. He says 6 months. You nod. You say, okay. The photograph goes into the folder, and the folder goes into the system, and the system absorbs it without resistance, the way a body absorbs something it's had before. Later that month, the original target, the man who passed you the salt, is convicted. Your handler mentions it like a footnote, says it went well, says the cooperation was essential to the outcome, uses the word outcome like it's a neutral term for something that happened to someone's life. You try to feel something clean about it, something that holds together. You try to find the angle where it looks like justice or necessity or the rational extension of a rational choice. You don't find it. What you find instead is a specific weight of a man's daughter's name, which you still know, which you will probably always know, which sits in you in a place you can't reach to remove it. You file it. You keep moving. You face the new door. Level 5, the unraveling. There is no dramatic moment. That's what makes it worse. No confrontation where the truth lands like a verdict. No scene where something breaks in a way that can be pointed to. No Tuesday that's different from any other Tuesday in the structural sense. It's just a Wednesday, a procedural, institutional Wednesday, and you're eating at a table with people you've been gathering information on for 4 months, and someone 2 seats down makes a joke, and everyone laughs, and you laugh too. And somewhere in the middle of that laugh, you realize it's completely genuine, not performed, not calculated, not a cover maintained for the arrangement. The laugh happens in you the way a laugh happens in a person, involuntarily, organically, because something was actually funny and your body responded to it without asking permission. And that the laugh, the realness of it, the fact that you have adapted so completely that you can exist authentically inside a life built entirely on inauthenticity, is the thing that finally breaks something in you, not the betrayal. The adaptation, the fact that you become so fluent in the performance that you can no longer locate where performance ends. The old man finds you in the yard that evening. He doesn't accuse. He just stands beside you, watching the same wall, and says, "You still think there's a way out of this that leaves you intact?" He says it like a weather forecast, like he's describing something that's already happened. You don't answer. You don't have an answer. What you have is a specific vertigo of someone who's been told something true that they already knew but hadn't let themselves know. You go back to your bunk. You look at the ceiling. You try to reconstruct the arithmetic that led you here. The original choice, the 11 seconds, the paper, the logic that said this is survivable, this is an endpoint, this is temporary. You try to find the place where the calculation was wrong, the variable you missed, the assumption that didn't hold. The assumption that didn't hold was that you could do this and remain yourself, that you could operate at this level of sustained betrayal, sustained performance, sustained moral compromise, for months, across 2 facilities, across multiple photographs, multiple names, multiple people whose lives you've altered through information that lived inside you, and arrive eventually at the other side of it, intact, reduced maybe, marked, certainly, but essentially still the person who walked into that conference room. That person is gone, not dramatically, not in a single moment, gone the way a language is lost, gradually, then all at once, and you only notice fully when you reach for a word and find that it no longer lives where it used to. Your cooperation agreement has 8 months remaining. Your handler calls with a routine check-in. He mentions, in the way he mentions things he wants you to accept without discussion, that there may be an extended arrangement available at the end of the current term, additional protection, additional consideration. He says he'll send details. He says it casually, the way you'd mention weather. You ask what it involves. He says he'll send details. You sit with the phone in your hand for a while after the call ends. You sit with it the way you'd sit with a diagnosis. And in the part of yourself that is still honest enough to know things, that you're going to say yes. Not because you want to, not because the math is better than last time, not because you believe anymore in the framework of timelines and 6-month promises and outcomes. You're going to say yes because you've been in the system long enough that yes is the only motion available to you. You become the arrangement. The arrangement has become you. There's no seam left to locate between them. You don't sleep that night, not because you're afraid of the extension, because you're not afraid of it. And you remember, distantly, a time when you would have been. Level 6. The after. You get out on a Thursday in March. Not your Thursday. Not your March. A Thursday that the system selected because it was administratively convenient. In a March that doesn't correspond to any calendar you kept inside. You're handed your personal effects in a plastic bag that takes 40 seconds to sort through, and then a door opens and you walk through it, and the air on the other side smells like rain and concrete and something biological and distant, trees, maybe, or just a complicated smell of a world that has been going on without you. Your handler is there, not outside. Nobody official is outside. He's in a car in the parking structure adjacent to the facility. He shakes your hand. Quickly, professionally, the practice handshake of someone completing a transaction. He says you did good work. He says the arrangement was a success. He says you should be proud of your contribution to several significant outcomes. That's the last time you talk to him. He drives away. You stand in the parking structure listening to the car leave, and then you stand there for a while longer in the silence it leaves behind. There's a bus ticket, a city you've never lived in, an address, a name that is technically yours but sits on you the way a borrowed coat sits. Functional, correct, just slightly wrong in ways you can't point to. They've also told you, politely and specifically, 2 things. First, your safety in the new location cannot be guaranteed indefinitely. This is a legal statement, not a moral one. They're clearing liability, not managing a threat. Second, the file, the one that doesn't officially exist. It will remain accessible if the arrangement ever needs to be reactivated. They say reactivated like it's a neutral logistical term, like you're a dormant account, not a person. You take the bus. You watch cities change through the window for several hours. You eat something from a gas station that tastes like food, which is enough. The apartment they've arranged is on the 3rd floor of a building that is ordinary in every way that a building can be ordinary. The neighbors have a mat outside their door that says welcome. Someone down the hall plays music at a volume, just low enough that you can't identify it. The radiator makes sounds at 3 a.m. that you've already learned to categorize as non-threatening. You get a job doing something that pays and requires exactly as much of you as you're prepared to give. You'll make friends quickly. You don't make friends slowly either. You exist in the social periphery of your new city, the way you eventually existed in the periphery of the block. Present, functional, illegible. Then one afternoon, maybe 3 months in, a neighbor, someone ordinary, someone whose name you know because it's on the mailbox, stops you in a hallway and asks where you're from originally, and you give a prepared answer, the one that's technically true in the way that all your answers are technically true. And they say, "Oh, interesting, I have family near there." And you talk for 30 seconds. About nothing. About a place. About geography. Normal small talk conducted between 2 strangers in a hallway, neither of whom wants anything from the other beyond the ordinary human transaction of being briefly acknowledged. 30 seconds. You think about those 30 seconds later. In your apartment, with the radiator making its 3 a.m. sounds, you think about how you weren't performing anything in that moment, weren't calculating, weren't reading the hallway before entering it. You were just a person, talking to another person about a place. You were just present. You were just there. You'd forgotten that was possible. Not the talking, the being there, the inhabiting of a moment without the weight of everything underneath it pressing up to the floor. You've lost a lot. You know the full inventory of it, the specific people whose trajectories you altered, the version of yourself that existed before the conference room, the relationships inside and outside that couldn't survive what you became, the clean nights, the moral ledger that can't be balanced now, not because you stopped trying, but because there's no currency available for the debt. But the 30 seconds were real, and the next morning you got up, and the morning after that, and that you decided, in the absence of anything cleaner, is what the after looks like, not resolution, not forgiveness from yourself or anyone else, not the version of this story where the math finally works out and the cost makes sense in retrospect, just mornings, just the 30-second conversations in hallways, just the incremental, undramatic work of being a person who has done a thing they can't undo, living inside the ordinary world that exists on the other side of it. The city doesn't know who you are. On most days, that's the closest thing to mercy you have. What you carry. People ask what prison changes in a person. The honest answer is, it depends on what you did while you were in it. Most people come out with the ordinary scars of institutionalization, the hypervigilance, the difficulty with open space, the social rust. Those fade, not completely, not for everyone, but they're workable. They're the kind of damage that time can do something with. What you carry is different. You carry the specific knowledge of what you're capable of when the math gets bad enough. The 11 seconds, the photographs, the names you learn without meaning to, the laugh at the dinner table that was genuine. All of it. You carry it in the way people carry the things they've done that can't be put in a room and closed. Not forward, not backward. Just with you, permanently accompanying. Here's the question the system never asks, and the street never stops asking. Was it worth it? And the answer is the one that makes everyone uncomfortable. It's the wrong question. Worth it implies a transaction that balanced. What actually happened was, you survived, and survival isn't a balance. It's just a fact about what you chose when the other options were worse. The old man in the yard, the one who watched you arrive and eventually said the thing that was true. He'd been inside for 23 years. He'd seen maybe 6 or 7 people do what you did at various levels with various outcomes. He said what they all had in common was this. They thought the system was a deal, a negotiation between equals. It's not. The system doesn't negotiate. It identifies leverage and applies it. It doesn't hate you or respect you, or see you as a person with a life that exists beyond your operational value. It sees a capability and a circumstance, and it uses them for as long as they're useful. And then it places you in a city that isn't yours with a name that's technically correct and a file that can be reopened at any time. And you live there, in the city that isn't yours, with the name, with the file, with the 30-second conversations in hallways that are the best moments of your week. You live there and you get up and you go out and you come home. And you face the door the way you've been facing doors since the beginning. That's the whole thing. Every level of it.